Welcome to the Deep Dive channel. Ever feel that familiar drag, that feeling like you just can't get started on something and maybe that word lazy just pops into your head?
Mhm.
Well, what if that feeling isn't really about laziness at all, but maybe it's, a signal about something deeper?
That's a really interesting way to put it. I think often what we label as laziness is just, well, the surface level. Underneath, there can be a whole lot going on, emotions, maybe even physiological responses that's worth looking into.
Exactly. So today we're going to dive into something quite fascinating. 7 Japanese philosophies. And these offer a completely different perspective, a really compassionate one, on why we might feel stuck.
Right, not about pushing harder or self-judgment.
No, exactly. It's more about gentle ways to find focus rooted in emotional understanding. We'll look at things like, fear, maybe perfectionism, or even just feeling totally drained emotionally, and how they can show up as that feeling of, well, inertia.
And these philosophies, they provide such a useful framework, don't they, for moving away from that self-criticism and more towards genuine self-awareness.
Yeah, like approaching challenges with curiosity instead of judgment. That feels like a huge first step.
It really is.
And hey, if this kind of exploration clicks with you, we'd love it if you'd subscribe and maybe drop your thoughts in the comments. We're really interested to hear what you think as we unpack all this.
Yeah, definitely.
So, okay, let's start right there with that word laziness. Instead of seeing it as like a character flaw, what if it's actually your inner self trying to communicate something?
Precisely. Think of that stuck feeling as maybe an internal guidance system. It might be saying, hey, you need a bit more gentleness here, or perhaps there's a need for connection, or even just some downtime for emotional healing. The trick is learning to listen to the signal, not just, shut it down.
That makes so much sense. And procrastination seems like a big one for a lot of people, doesn't it? It often gets framed as just bad time management.
It does, but there's often more to it. While, yes, time management can be part of it, procrastination frequently functions as a kind of self-protection mechanism.
Self-protection? How so?
Well, particularly if someone's had difficult experiences in the past. Starting something new can unconsciously tap into fears. Fear of failure, maybe fear of letting people down, abandonment even. So the brain, trying to protect us from that potential pain, kind of hits the brakes.
Wow, okay. That reframes it completely. And that question you mentioned earlier, what am I afraid might happen if I start? That really gets to the core of it.
It does. It bypasses the surface symptom and goes straight for the underlying anxiety.
Another big driver seems to be perfectionism. That feeling that if it can't be perfect, it's not worth starting at all. So paralyzing.
Oh, absolutely paralyzing. And it often traces back to earlier life experiences, maybe where love or acceptance felt conditional, tied to achieving some flawless standard.
Right.
So this deep belief gets embedded. Anything less than perfect is just not good enough. Starting feels incredibly risky then.
So that question, can I allow my work to be enough even if it isn't perfect, becomes really powerful.
Exactly. It directly challenges that core belief.
And then there's just the reality of modern life, right? The stress, the constant demands, leading to what feels like zero motivation. But maybe it's not willpower, maybe it's depletion.
Yes, precisely. So many people are dealing with chronic stress, anxiety, maybe unresolved emotional stuff. And these things have a real impact on our brain chemistry.
Like dopamine.
Dopamine, exactly, which is crucial for motivation, for feeling rewarded. So what feels like laziness could very well be genuine mental and emotional fatigue. Your tank is just empty. That's why that question, what small thing would make me feel more awake, not just productive, is so key. It shifts the focus to well-being first.
Okay, so with this kinder lens on laziness, let's explore these 7 principles. The first one you mentioned is Kaizen, the power of tiny steps.
Kaizen, yeah. It literally means change for better. It's all about continuous improvement through small incremental actions, not giant leaps.
So the opposite of trying to overhaul everything overnight.
Exactly. Kaizen understands that our minds often resist big, sudden changes. So, by focusing on really tiny, manageable steps, you kind of sneak past that resistance and build momentum slowly.
And the 1-minute rule, that sounds incredibly doable. Just commit for 60 seconds.
It's surprisingly effective. Often, the biggest hurdle is just starting. Right? The 1-minute rule makes the commitment so small it feels almost trivial, which helps rewire the nervous system, making starting feel less daunting.
And I liked that tip about using a timer knowing you can stop. That adds a layer of safety, especially if starting feels really overwhelming.
Yes, that element of control and permission is crucial, particularly from a trauma-informed perspective.
Okay, second principle, Ikigai. This sounds deeper. A reason to live.
Ikigai, yes. It's about finding that sweet spot, that intersection between what you love, what you're good at, what the world needs, and what you can potentially be rewarded for. It's about purpose.
But it doesn't have to be some huge world-changing thing.
Not at all. That's a common misconception. It can be much simpler. It's about finding meaning and value in your everyday life, connecting your activities to a sense of why.
So those journaling prompts you suggested earlier, like what did I love as a child, or what makes me lose track of time?
Exactly. Those help you tap into your intrinsic motivations, the things that naturally pull you. When your actions, even small ones, align with that deeper why, they feel less like chores.
Mm-hmm. Like making dinner feels different if you connect it to nourishing yourself.
Precisely. It infuses meaning into the mundane.
Okay, number 3, Wabi-Sabi. Beauty in imperfection. This feels like a direct answer to that perfectionism trap.
It really is. Wabi-Sabi is both an aesthetic and a philosophy. It finds beauty in things that are imperfect, impermanent, incomplete. It encourages us to appreciate the natural process, the flaws, the character that comes with use and time.
That feels so freeing. The idea that messy beginnings are okay, that you are a work in progress.
It shifts the focus from the outcome to the effort itself. Wabi-Sabi says, value the showing up, the trying, even if it's not polished. Growth is messy.
I love that mantra. I honor the imperfect effort that still shows up.
It's a gentle reminder, isn't it?
Definitely. Okay, 4th, Shoshin, a beginner's mind, approaching things with curiosity.
Yes, Shoshin is about bringing openness, eagerness, and a lack of preconceptions to experiences, even familiar ones, like seeing it for the first time.
Replacing I have to get this right with I'm here to learn.
Exactly. It dials down the pressure and the fear of failure. If you're a beginner, it's expected that you don't know everything. It makes learning and starting much less intimidating.
And dealing with that inner critic by saying, I'm learning, it's okay not to know. That's such a kind approach.
It fosters a more supportive internal dialogue, focusing on exploration over immediate mastery. You can apply it anywhere you feel hesitant because you think you should know better.
Number 5 takes us to something really basic. Hara Hachi Bu. Mindful eating for energy. Eating until 80% full.
Yes, Hara Hachi Bu comes from Okinawa. It's about moderation, but not through harsh restriction. It's about developing self-awareness around your body's signals of satiety.
Paying attention to when you start feeling satisfied, not when you're stuffed.
Right. And the goal is better energy regulation.
Which makes sense. Avoid those post-meal slumps that feel like laziness kicking in.
Exactly. By eating mindfully and stopping a bit earlier, you help keep your blood sugar more stable, which supports consistent energy and focus. It's practical self-care.
Okay, number 6, Shinrin-Yoku. Forest bathing, immersing in nature. This one's gotten popular.
It has, and for good reason. Shinrin-Yoku isn't just a walk in the park, though. It's about consciously engaging all your senses with the natural environment.
Noticing the sounds, smells, textures.
Yes, mindful presence in nature.
And the science behind it is pretty solid, right? It's calming the nervous system, lowering cortisol.
Very solid. Research shows significant benefits. Lower stress hormones, boosts in mood chemicals like dopamine, improved attention, even short periods help.
Just touching tree bark, like you suggested? A simple way to connect.
It grounds you in the present moment using sensory input.
All right, the final principle, number 7, Ganbaru. Quiet persistence without burnout. This sounds very different from hustle culture.
It is fundamentally different. Ganbaru is about enduring with patience, with quiet strength, with resilience. It's not about frantic pushing or neglecting yourself.
So perseverance, but with an emphasis on sustainability.
Exactly. It acknowledges challenges but focuses on inner determination and a steady pace. Crucially, it includes the necessity of rest and gentle return. It's not about constant output.
That gentle return part feels key. It's okay to pause, to rest, and then come back to it without beating yourself up.
Yes, progress isn't always a straight line. Ganbaru values the steady, sacred return over constant pressured finishing. That mantra, I may move slowly, but I am moving, captures it well.
These are all such rich concepts, but hearing all 7 might feel a bit much. How does someone actually start using these without getting overwhelmed?
That's a great point. The key is definitely not to try and do all 7 at once. That would defeat the purpose.
Right.
Just pick one. Whichever one resonates the most right now.
Yeah.
Maybe it's the 1-minute rule for a task you've been avoiding. Or trying Hara Hachi Bu at your next meal. Or just stepping outside for 5 minutes of Shinrin-Yoku.
Start small, like Kaizen itself.
Exactly. Let it be an anchor. Experiment gently. See how it feels. It's a process of becoming, not just achieving.
That makes sense. Okay, let's tackle some common questions people might have. What about someone who feels just so overwhelmed that even trying one tiny thing feels impossible?
Yeah, that's a very real feeling. In that state, maybe the task is simply acknowledging the overwhelm without judgment, or taking one conscious breath. Maybe the 1-minute Kaizen is literally just sitting quietly for 60 seconds, the absolute smallest step towards self-compassion.
Okay, and can anyone practice these? Do you have to be Japanese?
Oh, absolutely not. While they originate in Japanese culture, the underlying human principles, awareness, compassion, finding sustainable ways forward, are universal. They're tools for anyone seeking self-understanding, used with respect, of course.
How do you deal with the guilt? The guilt over not being productive? That's a tough one.
It really is. One approach is to try and meet the guilt with curiosity. Instead of, I'm bad for not doing enough, try asking, okay, what's behind this low energy? What do I actually need right now?
Yeah.
Shifting from judgment to inquiry. Presence over productivity.
What if you try to focus but your mind just wanders constantly? Any tips there from these principles?
Shinrin-Yoku, getting into nature, is often recommended for improving focus. Even just having plants nearby can help. Also, applying Shoshin, that beginner's mind, to the wandering itself. Instead of frustration, just gently notice, mind wandering, and gently guide it back like you're learning.
Is Ganbaru just another name for that toxic hustle culture?
Definitely not. They might both involve persistence, but Ganbaru is internal, quiet, and deeply values rest and sustainability. Hustle culture is often external, performative, and pushes towards burnout. Very different energy.
And lastly, wabi-sabi and self-esteem. Can appreciating imperfection actually boost self-esteem?
Yes, absolutely, because it fundamentally challenges the idea that your worth is tied to being flawless. When you can see beauty and value in imperfection, in objects, in nature, and then, by extension, in yourself, it fosters profound self-acceptance. It says you are worthy as you are, imperfections and all.
Wow. Okay. Well, we hope this deep dive into these Japanese philosophies has maybe offered a new, kinder way to look at those times when you feel stuck, a more compassionate lens, perhaps.
Remember that feeling you might call laziness. It might just be your body or mind asking for something different, rest, understanding. Maybe it's a gentler pace. You're likely not lazy, perhaps just tired or a bit afraid.
We really encourage you to explore these ideas further. See what resonates. Maybe try one small thing this week, even just for a minute or two.
See what shifts. Be curious.
Thank you so much for joining us on this exploration today.
Yeah, thanks for listening.
We look forward to continuing these deep dives with you.